Hi, good day everyone. So I will be talking about informal assessment in this module. So after you've known na yung different procedures underlying psychological assessment where we begin with referral, and as you've all known, meron din palang implicit and explicit reasons for referral, no? Yung explicit, yun lang yung masasabi nating surface level na reasons kung bakit nire-refer yung ating client. While yung implicit naman, it is something where we practice our due diligence, and at the same time, as a result of practicing our due diligence, we try to read between the lines sa kung paano nga ba or ano nga ba yung dahilan kung bakit nire-refer yung ating client. So now let's begin with what an interview is. So if kayo ang tatanungin, would you agree that interviews do parallel with tests? So for a few minutes or a few seconds, I want you to ponder on this idea. Would you agree or disagree? Well, actually, interviews do parallel with tests. But in what way? Or paano na hahalin tulad ang interview sa isang test? So number one, it is a method for gathering data. So in tests, we have the objective data. But considering the fact that a test only capture a behavior sample at hindi lahat ng kung ano-anong uri ng behavior ay makukuha or ma-evaluate through tests, then we can make use of interviews. So interviews are the means through which we can gather information that cannot easily be obtained through other means. So therefore, it is essential that we establish a relationship or rapport with our client so that magsasabi sila or they are more than willing to disclose something about themselves. And therefore, as a result of that rapport or working relationship with our client, we can also develop a greater understanding regarding the real problems of our client, and at the same time, yung direksyon na patutunguhan at kung paano natin matutulungan yung ating client as part or a byproduct of the assessment report. Because sa assessment report, nasa huli ang tinatawag nating recommendations for intervention sa kung saan magbe-benefit yung ating client. Okay? Next, just like tests, interviews can also be used to make predictions. So we can take note of what we have noticed inside the room with our client, and at the same time, we can foresee what might possibly happen with our client after they have disclosed information to us. Next, it is also evaluated with reliability and validity. So dito mapasok yung concept ng inter-rater reliability, no? Especially if structured yung ating interview. Next, it can also be group or individually administered. So, pwede tayong mag-focus group discussions and so on. And lastly, it could be structured or unstructured. So, kagaya ng test, pwedeng objective type o kaya naman projective or unstructured. And interviewers must actually have knowledge about the areas that should be covered during the interview. And at the same time, dapat nasa competency ninyo na kayo yung may control nung interaction. Yes, it should be reciprocal, but you must be able to be skillful when it comes to asking the right questions. Because oftentimes in practice, limited ang interview. So the maximum amount of time para sa isang interview ay 15 minutes. That is the standard for practice. So now, what are the goals of interviewing? So number one, it establishes the rapport between the client and the professional. Next, it allows us to gather information efficiently. So tests wouldn't ask it, but with you, you can gather everything that you need to properly assess the client. Next, it is through interviews where you form clinical impressions. So again, here you are going to use your due diligence. Kung ano nga ba talaga ang problema ng ating client. Because there might be something na ine-evade si client. And lastly, it supplements testing information. By supplementing testing information, we are trying to determine in which areas or which areas have some degree of consistencies between them. Okay? And because interviews involve interactions between people, it's natural that both of the participants are affected. In social psychology, this is known as social facilitation. So, the way you project yourself as a practitioner will definitely affect the interaction with you and your client. Okay? So, if medyo cold tayo tungo sa ating mga client or kunwari, tatawagin niyo yung client niyo pero kung tawagin niyo para kayong may dalaw, expect na yung client niyo makikisakay doon sa mood or vibe na meron kayo at that given moment. If you are very tense, your client will also feel some tension. And as a result of that tension, your client will also hold back information or hindi sila mag-open up. And social facilitation can actually lead to bias, and to be a good interviewer, dapat may self-awareness ka on how powerful you are as a potential factor na maka-influence doon sa behavior ng iyong client. Okay? And bear in mind, I want you to reflect then, in general, how does your vibe or mood really affect other people? So, isipin nyo yung time na bad mood kayo, tapos, ayun, bad mood din yung pinakitunguhan ninyo. And I hope that once you reflected from it, you also tried to learn from it. Okay? Now, dito na tayo sa effective interviewing. So, effective interviewing actually varies based on different factors such as the type of the interview, whether directive or non-directive, and at the same time, the goals of the interview. So, based on the type of the interview, again, interviews can either be directive or non-directive. And it actually depends on theoretical and practical considerations. So, if nasa humanistic, existential, yung ating theoretical orientation, then most likely we are going to be inclined to use non-directive interviews. However, kung sa oras naman kukulangin na tayo, then we should be using directive interviews. Okay? And non-directive interviews actually enable for sensitivity to the unique characteristics of our client, and at the same time, it could also help in fostering rapport. However, less structured or unstructured interviews cannot actually be applied to some individuals because, for example, si client ninyo anxious. Since marami pang isip-isipin ang client nyo na may anxiety and unstructured yung inyong interview, marami pang iisipin yan. And as a result, hindi yan makatulong. Lalala lang yung anxiety nung inyong client. Next, the goals of the interview. So, you must have an idea or foresight. Use your foresight when it comes to what needs to be obtained. Ano ba yung kailangan kong makuha dito sa client na ito? So, if medyo conflicting yung evidence na nakuha ninyo from the different tests na administer ninyo, then, yun yung mga questions. Yung gray area. Okay? Next, we should also show the proper attitude. And numerous studies has been published and found that the attitude of the interviewer matters the most when conducting interviews. So, in as much as possible, practice nyo yung pagiging pahinhin yung kausap para ang ating client, number one, at is the moment na pumasok sila for the interview, and at the same time, hindi mabigat sa loob nila yung mag-share sa inyo. Okay? Next, vary the type of interview from person to person. Because hindi lahat ng pagkakataon na babagay ang unstructured. May mga pagkakataon din na nababagay ang structured interviews. And our attitudes will have implications from the start until our further engagement with the client. And here are some of the responses that you must avoid as an interviewer. Number one, judgmental statements. Judgmental statements are evaluation statements na I know some of you have said na pag may naririnig kayo na mabuti na ginagawa ng inyong client or ng kahit sino man, you're saying na, buti yan. That's good. Tapos kapag masama, that's bad. So, iwasan natin yun. So, to facilitate the interaction, mag-nod na lang tayo ng ating ulo to really signify na nakikinig tayo sa sinasabi ng client as opposed to telling them na, that's good, that's bad. Okay? Next, asking why questions. Now, while probing is actually necessary because again, we can encounter discrepancies sa kung ano-ano ang pinagsasabi ng ating client or at times, again, pwedeng hindi malinaw para sa atin yung sinasabi nung ating client. But why questions facilitates defensiveness? So instead of asking them the question why or bakit, translate it into how or paano. Okay? Next, hostility. Hostility pertains to being angry with clients. So, iwasan natin magalit sa ating client. Okay? We should always strive to be professional as much as possible. And lastly, false reassurance. You will be better. Mga ganyang statements. Ha? Iwasan din natin yan because we cannot fully guarantee that your client would be better in an instance. Okay? And effective responses keeps the interaction flowing and at the same time, bear in mind, it depends on the type of the interview. And how do we keep the interaction flowing? So first, transitional phrases. Transitional phrases actually implies for the client to go on with the same topic. So, some of the transitional phrases na common sa practice ay yung continue, moving on, or I see. Okay? So, the way you state a transitional phrase may actually be dependent on the theme or yung tema ng pinag-uusapan. Next, verbatim playback. Sa verbatim playback, sinasabi yun na nabanggit niyo po na blah 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 Ayun. Verbatim playback allows for making further connections doon sa earlier na pinagsasasabi ng ating client. Okay? Next, paraphrasing. And paraphrasing, bear in mind, is one of the essential competencies that you must acquire to become effective assessors or interviewers. Okay? So, sasabihin natin yung sinabi ng client, but brief and synonymous. Yun lang naman. Okay? Next, restatement. So, babanggitin natin yung sinabi natin pero may pinalitan tayong words na synonymous. Summarizing. So, nagbibigay tayo ng buod or summary base sa na-capture natin na information. Next, clarification. So, again, at times, may mga pagkakataon na may information na hindi tayo maintindihan. So, therefore, we can ask some clarifying questions. And lastly, empathy or understanding. Bear in mind that empathy does not mean that you know exactly what your clients feel. Instead, you only demonstrate an understanding of what is it like to be them at that given moment. Okay? But also remember that empathy should not signify na nakaawa naman po kayo. Sympathy yun or sympathy. So, as much as possible, try to get hold of yourself. Huwag magpakita ng anumang emosyon. Just provide them an atmosphere of warmth so that they can open up to you. Okay? Next, the keys to effective interviewing. So, number one, avoid a mechanical approach to questioning. Okay? Para tayong robot, iwasan natin yun. So, tao tayo dapat ha. The way we present ourselves or interact with our clients. Next, move from open-ended to closed-ended inquiries. So, open-ended inquiries, again, allow for, number one, rapport with your client, and number two, ayan, trying to gather information that we would like in as much as possible. Pero kapag malapit na kayo maubusan ng oras, dun lang tayo gumamit ng closed-ended inquiries. Yung mga questions na direct ang isasagot ni client na pwedeng masagot ng yes or no. Next, move from general to specific topics. Also, invite the client to provide additional information and ask questions. And lastly, provide feedback to the client, especially sa kung saan mo gagamitin yung impormasyon. And remember that providing further feedback to our client is the last part of the assessment procedure. Dito yung nire-report natin kung alin yung findings sa kanila. And at the same time, nire-report din natin yung ano ba, yung pwede nilang gawin para matulungan sila. Okay? When it comes naman to the interpretation of interview data, bear in mind that interpretation and integration actually involves clinical judgment. So, hindi lang tayo titingin doon sa consistencies, but you are using your clinical judgment to determine or evaluate whether or not their functioning is still within the norm or not anymore. Nasa sa iyo yan. Next, interview data that can be supported by test scores can be given greater emphasis in the final report. So, para ka lang nagpapakita ng ebidensya na, ito, ayun. So, ganun dapat yung approach natin. So, may consistency pagdating sa test data, tapos may consistency sa interview data, then, i-highlight mo siya throughout the psychological report. Next, it may be reorganized in a chronological manner or may be used to make inferences regarding personality, coping, mood, or affect. And preferably, excuse me, and preferably, kapag tayo ay gumagawa ng psychological report or even conducting interviews with our clients, preferably by the stages of life or with respect to the course of their development from childhood until present. And with that, you can develop a coherent narrative of a client's life. So again, para tayong gumagawa ng istorya tungkol sa ating client. So regardless of the type of interview, we must assess, number one, again, the client's strengths, their level of adjustment, the nature and history of their problem, their diagnosis if meron, or the relevant in personal and family history. Because again, we cannot deny the fact that past experiences truly shape our personality. Now let's proceed to behavioral observation. Well, in general, observations are mostly applicable when it comes to assessing clients with developmental disabilities, those clients that tend to be resistant to treatment, or even very young children. However, it is essential to remember that observations allow for person-environment interactions. So, the ways we as examinees and the environment where we are observing a client may actually act together or influence the way our client would behave. And observations are also essential in a sense that we are gathering information not just when we are around with the client, but also with the collaterals being around the client. So, it is essential na i-involve yung mga collaterals or yung significant people in the client's life to gather observational data and relay it to us. Okay? So here we track the antecedent, what happened before the onset of the behavior. Next, what was the behavior demonstrated? And lastly, the consequence or the outcome as a matter of that behavior. And here are the different types of recording interview or sorry, observation data. Okay? But, iwasan na lang natin yung pagiging bias natin. So, oftentimes kasi, again, we cannot deny the fact na no, madali tayo ma-overwhelm, mentally speaking. And since madali tayo ma-overwhelm, we tend to summarize what is in the bigger picture. So yes, we can write everything and try to make sense of the data, but do not ignore any contradicting evidence. Okay? So now dito tayo when it comes to the use of the mental status evaluation or mental status examination. So mental status examination actually involves gathering and organizing observations, and it can actually aid the entire assessment procedure from case conceptualization, diagnosis, and even treatment planning. So the first area of mental status evaluation is the appearance. So when it comes to appearance, it is essential that we take into consideration how relative this is to the client's chronological age. And kung sa tingin natin hindi age appropriate yung itsura ng ating client, then they may have a chronic physical or mental health condition. And here are some of the key areas through which we can evaluate the appearance of the client. So number one, attire. When it comes to attire, are they wearing something formal? Are they wearing something casual? Are they well groomed? Next, hygiene. Do they smoke a cigarette? Do they consume alcohol? Do they have body odor or do they have plenty or put plenty of perfume? When it comes to attire, once again, the lack of attention to dress may actually somehow signify that the client might be depressed. While this disheveled look of a client, as in yung sobrang pabaya, it may be a sign of a potential psychosis. Sorry to say, but ito yung mga taong parang taong grasa, no? Next, it is essential that we take into consideration the culture of the client or even the possibility of peer group identification. Yung mga napapasama sa mga emo, ayan. So, consider those as factors that can play a role in the attire or hygiene of the client. Next, look also for body marks. Ayan. Kung may laslas, pwedeng they are engaging in self-injurious behaviors. Do they also have burns? Do they have scars? Do they have scratches? Kasi di ba kapag sinabi nating scratches, merong baka pwedeng may ano yan, skin picking disorder. Di ba? Next, the level of arousal. So the level of arousal actually pertains to the sleepy to hyper arousal continuum. Okay? So, isa continuum na iyon, pwedeng yung bandang dulo, yung sa may hyperarousal, pwedeng masabi na baka may PTSD yung client natin. Pero kapag hindi naman ganun ka-aroused, no? Or sleepy, who knows if our client is suffering from sleep deprivation. Next, the expression of emotions. So, bear in mind that we should pay attention not only to what is being said, but also but the way they say things. So, it is essential to evaluate the degree to which a client's affect meaning ito yung nakikita natin sa ating client, matches their mood. And the focus on their conversation will be also another element of observational data. Okay? So affect is the noticeable emotional state, while mood is the self-report or subjective feeling state. Okay? So, pwede na sabihin na mood, pwedeng good mood, bad mood, di ba? Because, we are using the term, bad mood ako to communicate na we are angry may someone, di ba? While affect, it can be constricted, labile, flat, or blunted. And oftentimes, yung mga clients na may schizophrenia, they are demonstrating flat affect or almost complete lack of emotional expression. Okay? On the other hand, blunted affect pertains to feeling numb. That numbness may actually translate or potentially translate to a PTSD. Next, movement and activity level. So, there will be certain instances na, parang may ganitong disorder tong client natin on the way we observe them. However, please do not rule out yet na may ganito nga si client natin. Because again, pagbabangga-banggain natin yung pieces of information na nakalap natin sa ating client. Okay? Next, their speech. Pwedeng pressured, tangential, may flight of ideas, or even loose association. So, people with substance use disorders, dementia, and even psychosis may actually be prone to having disorganized speech. Next, their thought content. Are they delusional? Do they have ideas of reference? Do they have obsessions? Ayan. However, be mindful or bear in mind, remember that delusions can actually vary based on the degree through which they are seemingly odd or kakaiba. And therefore, dito papasok yung cultural context nung nasa isip nung client. Okay? And here is a sample mental status evaluation form. However, hindi ito yung gagamitin natin. Instead, we will use the mental status examination rapid form. And ayan, that ends the discussion on informal assessment. So, should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send me a message to through my Microsoft Teams. All right? So have a great day, students, and thank you for listening.